Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Ask Amity Show. Today we want to talk about trustee and their compensation. So first, what is trustee? A trustee is a person who you've appointed in your trust documents to help manage your assets in the event that you become incapacitated or when you pass. The trustee has a lot of duties, a lot of things to do, and a lot of that will also depend on your estate size and your family dynamics. So one of the major reasons for a thorough estate planning is to avoid the significant financial impact probate can have on what is available for beneficiaries at the end of the process. If an estate is being administered through a well-prepared trust and will not need to go through California probate, then fees paid to the administrator and any necessary attorneys are usually a fraction of what they can be for the probate of an estate that is the same size. California trust administration fees are a quarter to a third of the cost of a similarly sized probate estate. The question here is, will there be any compensation left for your family to be claimed if there's someone who's earning a trustee fee?
To make that determination, I think we really need to understand that there are actually different types of trustees. With an estate plan, you can direct and appoint your trustees. Generally, you are your own trustee in the beginning, and then upon your passing or incapacity, you appoint successor trustees. So who can these successor trustees be? So one thing commonly used is a family member. So this would be what we determine as a private trustee. It's just any family member, individual who does not really have any expertise or resource like a corporate trustee. So it would be just a family member who you trust, who you know would act in your best interest and follow your directions to make certain distributions based on your directions within the trust. So this private trustee may or may not receive compensation, especially if they themselves are also a beneficiary. They may decide not to really necessarily need a compensation to act as trustee since they themselves are also the beneficiaries inheriting your assets. A couple of different other types of trustees would be a corporate trustee. So this would be somebody like a bank, a financial institution. Those would act as corporate trustees. So corporate trustees generally would take a percentage of your estate when they are helping to manage your estate. So this could be annually if you hold the trust assets within your trust and it's not an outright distribution, or if it is an outright distribution, they would just charge maybe a one-time fee to help make those distributions on your behalf. Another type of trustee would be a professional trustee, perhaps an attorney, a CPA, somebody who does have expertise but does not belong to like a financial institution. So that would be your professional trustee. They may charge a little less than a corporate trustee, but it really depends, on who that professional is. And then usually they would quote the fees based on the time spent on administering the estate for you, administering the trust, and help with the distribution based on your direction.
What are some of the exceptions to not receiving compensation? Under California Probate Code, the court can reduce or deny compensation to the trustee if the trustee commits a breach of the trust. There are two big caveats to all trustee fees. So number one, if the trust document specifies a compensation amount, then that's going to control unless the court orders otherwise. And number two, all fees must be earned. So by earned, we mean that all fees must be paid after the trustee properly, reasonably manages the trust administration. If a trustee does not work, then the trustee will receive no pay, no matter what the circumstances are.
Certain trustees may make mistakes, and what we see commonly are mistakes done with private trustees because, as we said earlier, private trustees, you may trust them because they may be family members, but they may lack certain expertise in knowing how to manage your estate through your trust. Some of the common mistakes that we've seen is not keeping detailed records of how certain money is spent. So if the trustee is helping you manage the trust assets, it's not an outright distribution. They need to basically do an annual accounting of what was done and what was spent. So if they don't keep detailed records, then that usually is a common issue and a mistake. And then also using trust funds for beneficiaries' benefit. So if they misuse certain trust money to supposedly spend on behalf of a beneficiary. That also can be a common mistake. Sometimes trustees will sign certain documents and not necessarily read what was signed. So that is also a common mistake. With professional or private trustees, maybe these mistakes would be less common. But just to keep in mind, if you have a trust that's a little bit more complicated, where you need continued management of trust assets, a private trustee may or may not really be your best choice. If it is a long-term trust with a lot of complex distributions and long-term management, then perhaps looking into a corporate trustee or a professional trustee would benefit the estate plan.
So what are some good practices if you've been nominated as a trustee? If you've been nominated, you've been asked to be a trustee for someone's trust. A good thing to do is to have a conversation with the grantor and ask them what they think a reasonable compensation for you to act as a trustee. If you've been appointed by your parents or maybe by a friend, then you want to have that conversation and ask them if there is any compensation. A reasonable compensation, again, depends on you and your grantor, what they would be comfortable with. We've seen compensation by the hour, and we've also seen compensation as a percentage of the estate.
So if you would like to talk to us further about who to appoint as a trustee, what perhaps would be best suitable for your situation, feel free to give us a call. We'd love to discuss with you and provide some advice and kind of what we've seen in the past based on our experience. Please like this video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time.